That stuff's been on there for too long. Some of you guys really don't like this thing. Just a boring cop car, it's a grandpa car. Why don't you do another Cobra? Get real, man. This is a Cobra, just with a Crown Vic / Grand Marquis body. What's not to love about this thing? Rare, you never see him, it's all black. It's gonna be sick when it's done. Just bear with me. We're gonna get started in that in this video. In the last video, we took this thing down to the dyno. Unfortunately, we were unable to make any dyno pulls, but I think that our low oil pressure issue is actually not a low oil pressure issue at all. It's just the nature of the modular Ford V8. This thing has great oil pressure, well within Ford spec. Just drove it around a bunch this weekend, got about 45 miles on this setup. Driveway test, 0 leaks. Not a single drip on the ground. This thing runs great. I think we're good to keep driving it. I'd love to get it back down to the dyno, but I'm not sure when my tuner, Mike from Turbo Mike Tuning, is gonna have time to get me in. But I don't have time to waste. So in the meantime, we're gonna start on the cosmetics on this thing, which it doesn't need much. This thing, you know, it's dirty right now and it sat outside for 7 or 8 years in Louisiana, but it is an extremely straight car. The only dent I've found on the whole car is that one right there, which my PDR guy, Scott, who is probably going to be in this video, is going to easily be able to get out. The rest of the car is basically immaculate. Got a little bend on the hood there that I think we're going to take care of as well. The only other issue is the front bumper. It's got like it ran into something. It's got like some deep scratches. I think I'm gonna have to repaint that, unfortunately. And then these body moldings here, they run down the length of all these Panther platform cars. I'd love to just remove them all together, but I'm told there's a locating hole like here or here in the rear door. So I really don't think you can take them off, but you can see the paint has failed and is chipping up top here. So I think we're gonna have to paint these, which is not a big deal, but it just means we gotta take them off and prep them. So the weather is still good here in southern New Hampshire as we move towards fall. So I'm gonna take advantage of that and get some of this paint work done. And we're gonna get right to work right now. So let's go out back, grab the front bumper where I've been storing it, see what we can do with it, and then maybe start pulling the side trim off here. Alright, well that was easy. Got the molding completely removed, both sides, driver and passenger, just a little bit of fishing line and some plastic tools. Done. So here's an example of the worst one. Paint just chipping at the top. One of them, yeah, this one is the paint chipping and then a pretty deep gouge right there. So these should be a pretty quick repaint. Probably just sand the chipping area with like, I don't know, 320 or 400 grit, then sand the whole thing with 600 or 800, prime some of these bare areas, and then base clear, done. Then of course wet sand out any bugs that I got and or runs, because we know I'm gonna get them. Over here on the bumper, some potentially good news. So I haven't really shown this because it's been off the car for so long since we've been working on it. But the car showed up like this with whatever this like crisscross X pattern is here. I don't know what that was, what it hit or whatever, but I figured this was an immediate repaint. It doesn't quite catch your fingernail, but they seem deep. But I took my little Rupes polisher just in one spot here, and it basically completely removed everything. So now I don't know. I was fully planning to repaint this front bumper, but now I'm not sure. It doesn't have any plate holes. I think these are the factory little dimples for it, so if we did repaint it, we could fill those in. But again, I mean, right now this is all original paint, so I'm almost wondering, I think that will buff out. I think that will buff out. I don't think there's any other. There's a little scratch right there. Maybe we could touch that up. I'm undecided, but this is a lot better than I thought. So honestly, I think I'm gonna start with a good wash of this bumper. It's pretty dirty inside and out, and then maybe we'll do a little bit more buffing and maybe a little bit of wet sanding. See how much of this comes out. If I'm happy with the condition of it, maybe we don't even need to paint this bumper. And then maybe it's just the moldings and one more thing that I'll get to in a little bit. Gonna need to spend some time getting all the double-sided tape, the old double-sided tape off these moldings. It probably makes sense to do that before we've got nice fresh paint on them. Love seeing part numbers and dates. Of course, I labeled all of them. I even signed one of them for the next pour sap that takes these off in 20 years. Was this a date? No, there's probably a date on here somewhere. We'll get these cleaned up too and see what we can find. Yeah, there's the one I signed. September 2025, there for the next guy. All right, let's get to work on these two. Well, we owe it to the Lightning, where we finally got the confidence to get the rotary going. And just like that, I don't think we're gonna have to paint this bumper. I was literally about to take 800 grit sandpaper to this thing earlier and just go to town and just figured it needed paint, but I said, all right, let's just do one little test spot just to show me that I need to paint it. And 20 minutes later, here we are. We are gonna be able to save the original paint on this bumper. The scratches are completely gone. Are there a couple of rock chips? You know, if you're really, really looking, yes. But this is 20-something-year-old paint, 21-year-old paint on a 30,000-mile car. It looks really, really good, especially once it's buffed. Look at this. Look at how dull it is over here, and then just 3 seconds with the rotary. Still has the haze from the rotary on there, which we'll get out later. But I mean, I'd rather save the original paint than to worry about, like, you know, I'm gonna struggle to even find one right now. Little stuff like that. The bumper looks incredible. It's gonna look even better. Check this out. Original Ford sticker with my VIN on it. That's cool. So bumper is saved. That is amazingly one less thing I have to paint. Just did a little bit of 2000 grit, then a 3000 foam pad, and then a little 3M compound on the old Amazon wool pad with the 10-year-old Harbor Freight rotary that I probably paid 14 bucks for. And we are golden. One less thing to paint, I guess, which means most of the prep work is going to be on these moldings, which are clean and drying off now. So I guess next is going to be removing this double-sided tape, which actually maybe I'll let them bake in the sun here for a minute and this will come off easier. Flip all these over. And then we can start sanding these and get them ready for paint. Plus I got one more thing here for this Marauder. It's going to make it a little more sporty for you guys to think it's too boring. So get into that as well. Sacrificial tank top, bodywork, ruin anything. Alright, so here are our paint specimens for this project thus far. Don't mind my grass. It has been such a hot summer. Bear with me, alright? It's not doing so great. Been meaning to put in an irrigation system, but been a little busy with things like YouTube. Anyways, got these things fully sanded down, prepped, got all the 3M tape off the back, got some new stuff here so we can put them back on. Basically just scuffed them up. Well, the edges that had paint peeling and stuff, I went right to 320, knocked all that down, and then everything else, 800 grit. In the tight to reach areas, you use the gray scuff pad, which is the equivalent of 800 grit, just so that the primer and new paint has something to adhere to. There was a couple areas that had like chips and nicks and stuff. I sanded them, fixed a lot of them just with sanding. Some of them needed a little bit of plastic filler. But other than that, we are ready for primer. I just want to get the edges and stuff anywhere where we broke through to like bare plastic, like right there where I did a repair that was 2 deep nicks. It looks like it's still there, but that's pretty butter smooth right there. Just get the edges in any repaired areas. And then the big secret, yeah, don't call it a spoiler because it don't spoil a thing. But what we got here is a repop of, I believe, what would have been a factory option for the 03 and 04 Marauder, is like a low mount spoiler. So it's really nothing too over the top. It's not like a giant wang or anything like that. We don't do that around here. Just normal size wangs around here. But this one should fit our, sleeper status, but also let you know that there's a little bit something else going on. It just makes it look a little bit less like a boring Crown Vic or Grand Marquis. Just a little bit of it almost kind of goes straight off the back of the car. I'd show you if we test fitted, but we didn't, which you normally should do with aftermarket body parts. But I don't have time right now. The sun's already going down. I'm trying to get these in primer tonight. So the side moldings are ready. The spoiler, it's already primed. It's, ready to paint, as a lot of these companies will say, and it actually looks pretty good. But there were a couple little pinholes I had to fill with some putty, and then there was a tiny little bit of damage. Focus. Tiny little bit of damage on the corner there, maybe from shipping or something. Really, really not a big deal. I quickly just hit that with some filler. So I think I'm going to quickly scuff this with 600 grit, make sure we don't need to prime it, and then we can prime all this stuff, or just these things if we need to. So let's do that before the sun goes down. Give these things plenty of time to dry so we can give them the final sand, and then hopefully tomorrow morning we can get the old inflatable spray booth out, spray them in Ford UA black. Yep. All right, paint booth is all set up. I just turned off the blower there just while I was getting everything else set up. Actually redoing a set of lightning corner markers here while we got the UA black out. Got everything situated on the stand, got the spoiler. Actually, this needs to come up a little bit. Yeah, tighten those later. Got basically picture frame stuff hanging that there. Everything over here is elevated on little pieces of cardboard to make sure we can get all the edges. This needs one final wipe down with glass cleaner. Then, basically cheesecloth or tack cloth to make sure we get any last little bits of dust. And then we are ready to spray some UA Ford Black, beautiful 2K clear coat. Also, my buddy Scott stopped by, knocked out some dents on the rear quarter of the Marauder. It was the only dents we could find, and it's completely mint now. Unfortunately, the hood, I think, is a no-go as far as fixing this without having to paint. That is going to leave like a valley right there once you start pushing this down. We messed with it a little bit, and it got a little bit better, but not going to be good enough for where I want it. So the options right now are, dolly and hammer and sand and Bondo and paint this whole hood, which is a viable option. I don't have room for it in the booth today, so it's not going to happen today regardless, and it would take hours of prep to get there anyways. The other option is try to find any black 98 to 2011 Crown Vic, Marauder, Lincoln Town Car, any one of those hoods. So I'm gonna keep an eye out on Marketplace and or any of the salvage yards around here, see if I can find a really nice black hood, and if that can save me hours and hours of body work and, you know, probably $100 worth of paint and clear, might be worth it to just get another black hood. But we'll see. I'll keep my eyes out for now. I'd love to get this paint work done today. So let's get the booth inflated, get to spraying. All right, got the afternoon/evening sun curing up our parts here, which came out really good. The trim pieces, basically flawless. Really nice. Mirror finish, no issues there. Same thing over here. The spoiler, I had my settings on my gun, kind of messed up. Absolutely buried it right here. Ended up getting a run here. And then did what I usually do, which is take that run and bury it even farther until the point that the run just drips right off the edge. And that makes for less work down the road. We can just kind of slice those off with a razor blade, and then there's less work to do here. So I think there might be the remnants of a run right there that we can easily wet sand and buff. But the main parts that you're gonna see on this spoiler came out really nice, totally flat, and very minimal dust considering my painting conditions. Lightning parts came out awesome too. So I'm just gonna leave these out here until the sun goes down so they can cure as much as possible. In the meantime, we're gonna stay busy. Also, I apologize, went to go put on clear coat and my action camera died. So the best I could do was lean the camera up against the clear plastic thing, and you guys could see me lay down the clear, but you know, same thing. Psst, psst. You know how it goes. Came out good. While that's drying, we're gonna stay busy. The car is up on the lift because we're moving on to the next thing on the list, which is brakes. I'm a huge fan of the factory 18-inch Marauder wheels. They're real clean, real simple 5-spoke design, which you guys know I love. But I couldn't have dirty, dingy brakes behind them. So you guys know I hit up the team over at Holley and they hooked me up with this bare brake set. So this is front and rear slotted and drilled rotors. Best part is these are already zinc plated, so I don't have to do the old Chris Sullivan mask off the hat here and paint them after they rust in like 3 days. The whole thing is plated in zinc so that none of it is gonna rust. The brake pad is gonna wear off, only the contact area that's gonna wear off, and then you would just have your wear area. Everything else is coated in zinc, so these things are gonna look fantastic for years to come. We got increased braking performance with the drilled and slotted. They're gonna stay cooler. They are directional. A lot of you guys comment on that, or have commented on that on my videos in the past. So we're gonna make sure we get them on in the right direction. Went with their sport ceramic pads, which are gonna be low noise, low dust, and increased braking bite. So just a good all-around performance pad. This is gonna be a good budget setup so that we can not only make the brakes look good, but they're gonna stop better without the hassle of having to change calipers or, you know, do aftermarket spindles or anything like that. So you guys know the deal. If you need brake parts, engine parts, ECU parts, carbs, everything, Holley's got a ton of brands. Check out holley.com. Get you the right parts for your ride. Out here, I've got the factory 5-spoke Marauder wheels off for the first time since I've owned the car, and they came right off. And that was surprising to me, but I found out that one of the previous owners used anti-seize on the hub. Who does that? What a guy. I love that. I was expecting these things to be frozen on. They've probably been on the car for 8 years while it sat, and they popped right off like nothing. But these things are in great shape. There's like no chrome pitting or anything. There's like a tiny little bit of curbing right there, but that's about the worst of it. These things are in fantastic shape. They're super light. They've got the original Marauder center caps. They were really clean when I first washed these things, when I first washed the car back in May, but I want to clean them up again, get them clean both inside and out, and then we can put them back on with our new brake setup. We are definitely going to need new tires soon. These things are dated 2017 Nittos. Yeah, 2017. That's probably 37th week of 2017. So these things are 8 years old at this point, and they are coming apart. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a burnout out of them. And with a beautiful set of rotors, you know we're going to have to do something about these calipers. Make this old man's car look a little bit more sporty with some OEM plus mods. You guys know my style. But none of that's gonna happen if we don't get to work. So let's start getting those wheels cleaned up and then move on to the next thing. This might be a good one. I think that would touch up. Hood blanket's in better shape than mine. It's original Ford part. No rust or anything. Dirty. Major scratches. Couple days later, and we are on our way to go pick something up from a junkyard. And the reason that I sound a little hoarse right now is because I actually was at NASCAR for the last 3 days, being an absolute degenerate, and I had a blast. It was a great time. It's great to take a break, hang out with some friends, family, and see some American muscle and go around the track. 301 times, New Hampshire Motor Speedway in Loudon. They have a NASCAR race come once a year. It's usually a very popular event. It's usually in July, but it's always wicked hot. So lately, I think they've been doing it in September. It was super nice, beautiful during the day, cool at night. I got invited to go into the pits, check out some of the drivers and pit crews preparing for the race, and then was up in the stands watching the race. It was super fun, beautiful day, beautiful race day, beautiful long weekend. I'm paying for it now, but hopefully my voice recovers in a day or two. But anyways, the way that all relates to this video is on the way to NASCAR, I found a hood on carpart.com, which is basically a collection of all, auto recyclers can post their parts on there. That Epping Auto Salvage had a hood off a black 2004 Mercury Grand Marquis. It was just a picture of the whole car, and it was literally on the way to NASCAR. So I took the Lightning to NASCAR because it's the most NASCAR vehicle I think I have, and I'm glad I did. It was fun to cruise it an hour back roads all the way to the track. But on my way, I stopped, took a look at this car. The old guy at the front desk kind of grumbled and said something about it's out that way. Really old school, dirty, junky junkyard. But I went out there, found the hood, and it looks like it's in pretty good shape. Didn't see any major dings or dents or bent up corners or scratches that couldn't be buffed out. No rust. And I believe there's only one color black on a 2004 Mercury Grand Marquis, so I think it's going to work. So right now we're heading out there to hopefully unbolt a couple 10mm bolts, grab that hood off that thing, and then head back. And then we can keep it going with the brakes and stuff like that. So let's get it done. How do we make sure that doesn't happen? Man, it's hot out here. Back in black. There's the 2 valve. Like a something. This will probably work. Alright, well at this point I somehow put my Insta360 into some weird fisheye time-lapse thing, so I apologize for the lack of footage getting out the shocks and struts. Also, if any of you guys have the new Meta glasses and are happy with the quality and sound, let me know. I'm looking for better options to give you guys the best POV shots. Yep, just painting the brakes. More on that in a second. Let's check out this hood I bought. Boom, 175 bucks. Straight as an arrow. There is, I quickly washed this thing, got most of the dirt off of it, gave it a quick clay mitt to get some stuff off, but I mean, there's a couple little scratches. I think most of these will buff. My other hood had scratches like that too. There's a little bit of sap or something right there that should come out. Rock chip right there. Other than that, this thing, I think all of this will buff out really nice, and this thing is basically going to be mint. Really not bad for a junkyard find. I mean, clearly whatever the person hit was in the front, and thankfully the hood escaped scotch-free. There is no major scratches or dings or anything that can't be, you know, touched up. Super, super flat. So, like I said, that would have been at least a day, maybe more, of like 10 hours of work probably. If you guys have done painting before, you know, even if it's a simple thing like that, by the time the booth is set up and you've mixed the paint, done all of the prep work and sanding and cleaning and priming, it's a full day minimum. So for me, well worth it to just find an existing black hood, which is also ironically off a 2004. Maybe they were even sprayed the same day as my original hood, but this is going to clean up nice. Original Ford paint. I can't tell anywhere that it's been repainted. It still has the factory catalyst thing on it. There's no like tape marks or anything, so this thing's going to be good. I'm happy with that. In here, check out these Marauder wheels. They cleaned up super nice. I mean, like I said, they were in good shape to begin with. We're ready for our final detail. We'll give these things a quick, final polish. Actually, I might even clay these too. These feel like they got some brake stuff on them, but these will definitely clean up nice. Now, why? If I'm just painting the brake calipers, which are hanging right there, and doing rotors and pads, why did I remove the front struts? Well, we got to bring this thing down. Yep, if we're gonna have a sleeper Marauder, but that has more than double the factory horsepower, there's no way we can leave it in the factory 4x4 ride height. So we're gonna lower this thing. The rear is easy. There's just this thing that you adjust on the Watts link. Factory adjustment, actually. I can show you guys that better when we do it. But basically it makes the car think that it's higher than it really is, which lets air out of the bags and has it sit lower. So the rear is like 5 minutes or less. The front, we have to change the springs. And by changing the springs, I mean, we're going to cut these ones. And yeah, I know. Let me hear it. Let's hear all the negative comments about cutting springs. There's a wrong way to do it and a right way to do it. There's, linear springs and progressive springs and things like that. Where I'm at with this is, where I'm at with a lot of the parts for this car, is that there's not a lot of them available. I don't think there's any lowering springs available for this chassis, period. There was some back in the day, I think made by Eibach or Eaton or something, and guys said they didn't lower the car at all and made it ride terribly. Not that that matters anyways, because they're not available anymore. There's some people that say there's a Moog spring available. I'm not sure. There's a bunch of guys that say if you cut one coil on the fronts here, it lowers it down like 1 inch to 1.5 inches, and it rides still like stock. So for a free mod, and a bunch of guys on the internet and the Marauder forums saying that that's a good mod to do and that it didn't affect their ride quality, negatively or really that negatively, I'm in. I'm going to give it a shot. So you guys know the deal. I'm going to get my spring compressor in here, take the top off. We'll take the spring out. I'm going to do one coil, which is basically right there. Take one coil out of this thing, put it all back together. Good while you're in there mod. While you're in there shirts on the website. Check them out. The While You're In There Cafe. Burning cash since 2025. So that's where I'm at, and if this doesn't work out, if anyone knows of a part number that can lower the front of your 2003 plus Panther chassis, let me know. Otherwise, I'm sticking with cut springs for now.
All right, you guys know the deal. Red calipers, black brackets.
Looks good on just about any car, especially black.
I like to do the brackets black on you know, a lot of these OEM cars with smaller brakes, just because I feel like red on the caliper and the bracket itself is a little bit too much. Anything like this with, you know, the giant banana caliper where the bracket or the spindle is totally hidden, obviously one color, or like that monstrosity right there. But factory guys like this, I like to do red, or, you know, depending on the color, but break it up a little bit. I've been doing this since my 2000 Camaro back when I was like 19 years old. And I've always had good luck with it. Couple coats of base, couple coats of clear. Looks really, really nice. This has been cured up for a couple hours now. So I think we are ready to put rotors on. Speaking of rotors, these rear ones were an absolute bear. Put up a huge fight last night. I don't know if it was they were stuck to the parking brake on the inside or what, but you can see everything out here. I had to basically hammer, pry, and then pry and hammer at the same time to try to loosen it up. What a process. Also got the struts cut, or the coils cut, one full coil on each side, got all that reassembled, didn't die. Still here, face is still here, using the coil compressor. Of course, be careful if you're gonna use those, be safe, be smart, and try to keep the energy pointed away from you if you're gonna do it. But got all that back in the car, front end is totally reassembled, so now we just gotta add those beautiful bare rotors and pads, put the braking system back together, see how it all looks. Maybe pop those beautiful chrome wheels back on and see how the brakes look behind it. And then, oh yeah, we got to adjust the rear suspension as well. And then, if we get to it, maybe we can put the molding and stuff back on. We still got to remove all this tape and see if we can't get this spoiler installed. I was looking into that a little bit while this stuff was drying. All right, let's get to work. All right, here goes nothing. Yeah, maybe it is. Heyo, making big progress. Look at those bare discs behind those beautiful red and black calipers. More importantly, this thing has had an altitude adjustment. I wish it was a tad lower in the front. It's definitely better. I completely forgot to take measurements before and after, which if you guys have been on the channel before, you know I always do that, but I forgot this time before we pulled it in the garage and got it in the air. So we got nothing to compare it to, but I know that it's lower, and I'm hesitant to pull the coils out and cut more, because if you've also been around the channel, you know that stuff settles. So I almost want to put a few miles on this, hit some railroad crossing, hit some bumps, and see where it settles out. If it comes down another ½ inch or so, I think I'll be pretty happy. We don't want it slammed, but we definitely want it more aggressive without sacrificing ride quality, and that might be it. The rear, I adjusted that little bracket like ½ inch, and it was basically on the ground. I've since moved it a little bit, and that's more what we're looking for, but it's still lower in the rear than the front, so there's more adjustments to be made. But that'll be easy to do. Also spent a bunch of time using my 3M rubber wheel, getting all of the remaining double-sided tape off of where the moldings were. And I need to spend some more time over here, and then followed that up with acetone. But this is what I want to get rid of. This I'm hoping is going to come out in the paint correction. It's just like dirt and all sort of just grime in the paint. And I'd like to get this out before we put the molding back on, because I don't want to be, being really aggressive right here and potentially burn through the molding. And thankfully, my friends over at Gyeon just hit me with a big shipment of everything that I'm going to need to transform the paint on this very neglected, sitting outside for 8 years Marauder. We're talking compounds, polishes, iron remover, wheel cleaner, tire cleaner, clay bars, you name it, they sent it. This transformation is going to be one for the books, and I'm so excited about it. I already started with their iron products on the hood that we got out of the junkyard, which is going to remove any contaminants that are on the hood there. And the reason I bring that up is because I think that we're going to use their clay bar to start over here, and then I think we're going to hit with a heavy cut compound and pad just to try and get rid of as much of this as we can. This line right here is going to be hidden, but it's like this stuff just above it that I want to get rid of. I did a tiny little test pass right here. You can see that line is pretty much gone. So all the crap above there is gone. And look at that factory paint. A little sneak peek. We're going to do a little sneak peek of hopefully how good this paint is going to clean up. I'm fired up about it. Back here, we got the spoiler test fit. Took a perfectly good Marauder trunk and drilled 4 holes in it using their little mounting template things. My wife helped me out here and hopefully got this thing nice and level. And I just need to drill these out more, then screw them in from the back. And we should add a little bit more sportiness to the back of this grandpa car. So that's the update. Got my work cut out for me. Let's keep it rolling. All right, well, we almost got the molding all back on. Let's start over here. Fully back on the driver's side. Got all 3 pieces fully lined up. They look absolutely perfect. Super happy with how the paint came out. Don't need to do any wet sanding or buffing on these. I'm glad I put in the extra effort to remove all the junk up here, because now we can just go near that area when we buff this car, and should be good. So molding on this side is done. Molding on this side, we got the front 2 pieces on, no issues, looks absolutely fantastic. You can see where I buffed and then where I didn't. This paint correction is gonna be something else. Can't wait. Anyways, the reason I didn't put this piece on is because of whatever this is right here. It's like some staining or something that was coming down. I made a bunch of passes with the Gyeon Compound Plus and their cutting pad, and still wasn't coming out. So I even brought out my rotary and the wool pad, and it got a little better, but it's still there. So I need to come up with a recipe, might even be wet sanding, to hopefully get this out. It doesn't catch your fingernail or anything, so it might just be damage to the clear coat. I'm not sure. But need to come up with a recipe to hopefully get that out. And it's really close to the trim here, so I want to wait to put it on. But the Gyeon compound and pad and all that stuff, the clay, removed just about everything else. I actually left a little bit of this line here because, again, that's covered up, and it helped me to kind of position the trim. You can see the final result there. A little bit of hazing left from the buffer, but look at all the defects that Gyeon stuff removed. So much more to come on that. Actually, over here it removed every single defect and all of the lines that I was actually completely blind placing this piece. So I basically started down that end and worked my way down here and then kind of lined it up there. So yeah, this is going to be a good paint correction. Up next, I'd like to get my new to me hood on, and maybe for the first time in like 6 months probably, get the front bumper on, get the corner markers on, get this car 99.9% assembled, with the exception of that trim piece. But you guys know me, we got to give this a quick power wash, and then we can put the front end back together. Also, it is almost October in New Hampshire and it's hot, so tanks on the website, check them out. That sounds like Free Willy. Scary broom.
You know, I thought this would be one of those cool, like, B-roll sections where, whoa, the car is finally back together. It looks so sick. It looks incredible. It looks terrible.
There's water spots everywhere. The bumper is half buffed. It's got some buffing compound there. Hood looks great, which is nice. Regular paint has finger marks all over it and swirls and scratches. Then you randomly got brand new paint, half buffed old paint in some areas, missing trim there. The dirtiest deck lid you've ever seen with a brand new spoiler. And the roof is just, who even knows? We've got our work cut out for us on this paint correction, but it is finally 100% back together. Let's drive it. Correction, 99.9. We're missing that trim piece, but the bumper and headlights are back in for the first time since May, June maybe? I don't know. Still rides like a couch. Test. Yep. Brake test number 2. Damn. For a heavy car, pads and rotors bite. That wasn't even to the floor because I don't think my ABS is working, but she puts on the whoa pretty quick. Cool. This thing still drives like a couch. Love it. Uh-oh. This caliper's a little hot. Just breaking in. Don't worry about that. I don't know. Jury's still out on the ride height. I hit a bunch of, you know, frost heaves and dips and stuff. It's not bad. I still feel like the front could come down a hair more. Let me know what you guys think. Definitely looks sick. Red calipers, brand new slotted rotors, lowered down. What an improvement. Oh yeah, spoiler too. Once all this black is the same color, it's really gonna look good. Gotta take care of that bumper sag too. I think that's a common issue on the Marauders. Yeah, man. Shoo-hoo-hoo. She is rowdy. That caliper is dragging bad. You know, sometimes that happens, especially on a 20-year-old car that sat for 8 years, is the caliper was in one spot for so long that then you compress the piston to put the new brake pads in, and now it's in a rough spot that it's never been in 20 years. And when you go to hit the brakes the first time, it kind of gets stuck there. So that is probably something I should address. I might need to order a new caliper for this thing. Hopefully we can make it home and don't burn this thing down or mess up our new bare brakes. We're only a couple miles from home. We'll just take it slow, but this thing's a ripper, man. Drives beautifully. We're chugging home. I need to do an oil change on the SQ7, and I just got this new oil extractor from Vivor, so super excited to use that, so I don't have to get down on the ground and figure out how to drain the oil from one of those crazy European vehicles. But what are you guys running for oil in the 4.0 twin turbo SQ7, RSQ7, or SQ7, SQ8, RSQ8, RS6, etc. All you guys, what are you running for oil? Let me know, and more Audi content will be coming up. Whoops. just baking on that new paint. Well, other than almost burning the car down due to a apparently seized caliper, successful test ride. It has been over 2 weeks since I've uploaded a video. It seems like not a ton got done here, but all of this little details are what separates the men from the boys here. You know, could we have just touched up these trim pieces? Maybe. Probably would have looked terrible. Anything paintwork takes forever to get the prep right, doing the brakes, refinishing those trim pieces, and then removing all the old adhesive, prepping the spoiler, painting that, getting all the front end parts back together, swapping the hood at least 3 times in this video. All very, very time consuming, especially when I was not here last weekend. Man, this thing looks good in this lighting. I cannot wait to clean this paint up. But yeah, the Marauder for the first time in a while is 99% back together, and I'm psyched about it. Mechanicals are just about done, I think. Add a caliper to the list and bleeding the brakes, but that's no big deal. My tuner, I think, is out of town for a few weeks, so that's why we're kind of focusing on the cosmetics, but I'm gonna continue to put miles on this thing, continue to break in the motor, and in the meantime, we're gonna push forward on the cosmetics, which is gonna be led by Gyeon Products. Again, shout out to those guys. Link for all the stuff I used in this video will be in the description, as well as all the stuff I'm gonna be using in the next video to tackle this paint, and man, it is going to be a good one. Thank you guys as always for watching. If you enjoyed the video and are enjoying the Marauder series, give it a thumbs up. Stay tuned for lots more content. I promise it will not be another 2 weeks, and we're going to start working on this thing soon. I got some parts for this thing. Which of these 2 big black 4-door sedans would you take? 600 horsepower NA or 600, there we go, 600 horsepower ish. Yeah, we'll call it 550 supercharged. American, German. Let me know in the comments. See you guys next time.